Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that relates to the hashtag Why Is Good a Change project, and that is how to write a disabled character. I myself have cerebral palsy with epilepsy, so I think I have it on pretty good authority to speak about characters with disabilities and how to write them. I also reached out to an author by the name of Lynette Noni, who is the author of Arcanine and the Mandarin Chronicles series. And I asked her a bunch of questions about why she and other authors sort of don't write more disabled characters in their books, because it's a very sparse sort of character trait. And this is what she had to say. She said about, making them realistic, but also trying to respect the disability, especially in regards to having the readers who have that disability, having them to relate to them within their own life. It would also be important to be careful about whether you want to make the character with the disability a heroine or a champion, or playing them as a victim. She also spoke about how it's important to respect the disability itself, as she said that a speech impediment is much easier to write than a person who's fully paralysed. And the final thing that she said is that, people who don't have sort of disabilities need to sort of respect that they aren't writing about something that they know of. And I fully agree with her responses. I fully agree that, it is hard to write a character when you've got to respect the character, respect the disability, and not try and piss so many people off. But I have come up with 5 tips and tricks for authors that can help them write disabled characters speaking from a person who lives with disabilities themselves. I will actually have a separate supplement video that will talk more about my journey and the characters that I sort of relate to give people another sort of perspective on this. This is more of a professional perspective, really. So with all that said, let's get into the 5 tips and tricks to writing a disabled character. The top tip is that research is your best friend. If you do not suffer this certain disability, and I'm going to use my disability, cerebral palsy and epilepsy, if you do not suffer them, research is like your Zuko to your Aang, your Harry Potter to your Ron, your Sarah J Maas to your Susan Dennard. It is your best friend. Medical journals, charity websites who support people living with cerebral palsy or epilepsy can give you some insight and information. And there is first-hand sources. Actually talking to people who actively live with these disabilities is a great way. I'd be the first to say, if an author emailed me saying, hey, I'm writing a book about a girl with cerebral palsy, word on the street is that you have it, because now the whole world will know. Can you give me some insight? I'd be happy to speak to them and say, well, this is what happened, this is what I've experienced, and whatever. And that is really what you need to do. You need to research and try to piece together in your mind what it is like to live day to day with a disability. Also, I have an experiment. If you want to get up off your seat and start walking and turn your foot in until you trip over, that is what a cerebral palsy person sort of does on a day-to-day basis, or that is what we've gone through. So if you can sort of get a grasp on that, that's good. And also adding on to that there are things, by actually talking to people who live with it, you gain a different perspective than just reading it from a medical journal or a website. The one-on-one communication and the emotions that people will show actually help you develop these characters and make them more real. My second tip is that you've got to remember where they've come from. For example, I was born with my disabilities and I've been raised up with them, so I sort of treat them as sort of like a old friend that occasionally pisses me off. But someone who has been in a car accident and is now a paraplegic would have different emotions than what I do. And it is very important to respect and know that that's what you're writing. If you're writing someone who has lived with them from birth, then their emotions are going to be different than a person who's just in a car crash, so respect that. So in my case, the emotions I felt were angst, horror, you know, sadness, depression, whatever else, but I grew to live with that and embrace the life that I still had without it. It's still a part of me, but I don't overly indulge in it. And that has to be probably the most important thing, is to know from what perspective you're writing this thing from. Because if you say, oh, well, this person has lived with it all its life, but it still treats it like it's some sort of thing that's holding them back. Some people do that, but in my case, it's not that. It's not that particular way of thinking. And it is good to explore different ways of thinking, but if you just keep it to that, oh, I'm disabled, I'm broken, I'm whatever, then you are just going to keep doing the stereotype, and that is not good. There are people out there who are stronger and who live with disabilities than normal people, and I think that that needs to be embraced as well. A second point with making it realistic, show the goddamn process. Show them going to doctor's appointments, show them taking medicine, show them having a walking stick, a wheelchair, a walking frame, whatever. It is not going to feel realistic if you don't show that there is some struggle. And it pisses me off when authors gloss over, you know, people with depression. That we don't have a scene where they're taking their antidepressants, because that's deemed not relatable enough. I can guarantee you, if you put in a scene where, oh, I'm sorry guys, before we go, I just have to take my epileptic medication, that will win you points, because I feel like authors are glossing over day-to-day things that will hold up plot but are very important to the people who suffer with those characteristics, and it's just one of those points that pisses me off. So if you're going to do a person who lives with a disability and they have to take medication, they have to use their walking stick, they have to use their wheelchair, they have to use their cane, include that, because that is part of their day-to-day life. And it does not mean that you can just gloss over it to make room for more plot elements that will no doubtly not make sense. So that is the second tip. Keep them, know where they're coming from, know what the emotions are going to be, and keep scenes in that will give it a sense of realism. Whereas a scene where the love interest helps the main character out at a doctor's appointment or helps her climb up the stairs, that is romantic. And I want that in more books. I'm sorry, but you need that to make them feel human. And I would like for more book characters to feel human and not just a character archetype. The third tip, and this is a do not, for the love of all things that is bookish related, use a disability side effect as a plot point. This pisses me off. My epilepsy, my seizures are seizures. They are horrible. You don't know what's happening, you don't know what's going on, and the people around you, if they know what's going on, they may be able to help. But you, person having one, are out. You are out. You do not know what's happening, and only your parents, your friends, and whatever else knows what's happening. So do not use the she's in a seizure, she's in a different world excuse, because your mind does not work like that. We are in a limbo state. We don't know what's going on. We are practically not knowing anything. And it pisses me off when authors take a side effect and turn it into a plot point to exploit it. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. If you are going to sit there and be like, oh, I will write a scene where she has a really long seizure and it's resolved, but she visits a world that's different from her own. How stupid do you have to be? Like, legitimately, the things that the parents go through during when the child has a seizure before they get to the hospital is so traumatic that you want to put that as a plot point? I will not read a book where epilepsy or any other disability is treated like something that can be glamorized and can be, you know, a gateway to another world. That is just rude and insensitive. And if it's done well, if there's like, oh, but she comes back in like an hour, then that may be an exception. But generally, no, this is wrong, it is horrible, and it's exploitation. I honestly cannot get why so many people think that exploiting a side effect of a disability is worth reading about, because it's not. And I feel like I need to get that out of my system, because that just pisses me off. You know, we are stronger than you make us out to be. And it really pisses me off when my disability is taken as a plot point. It's not happening. Now, if your plot of the book is this girl who's trying to come to terms with the fact that she's got a disability, that's fine. That's all right. But it's when you abuse the disability, that's when I have a problem. So tip number 3, be mindful and do not use disability side effects as a plot point. Otherwise, I will find you and I will rant. Tip number 4, and this comes as the friends, love interest, family, whatever. It ties into number 2 where I said that realistic portrayal is key to knowing where your character stands. If their mum and dad have known this from birth and they've grown up doing what they can to raise the child to have a full and happy life, show that. That is one of the most beautiful things, is when a mother realizes that her daughter is perfect, but she's got to do things to make her daughter happy. And I love that. I love when parents are openly supportive and just have the heart to say, well, she's a little different, but we love her all the same. And it's the same with friends. Do not put a disabled character through the fake friendship trope. Now, if they have a couple of close friends and this new friend sort of is a fake friend, that's fine. But if their only friend is only there because they want to abuse the car park permit that people get, the moving up in lines and whatever else, that is bad. That is going to traumatize that person who might never had any friends before. And that is so bad. So bad. Why? Friendship should be nice and genuine. Of course, there is going to be some drama because just certain disabilities, they can't go everywhere or do everything. But that's fine because that means it's compromise. If one friend says, hey, let's go out to a nightclub, and the person with epilepsy is like, no, I can't, strobe lights, trigger, make a compromise to go out to a pub to eat. It's simple. And the same with love interests. I'm sick of reading about these people who are either overweight or have a disability, and their one concern is, why does he love me when I'm so broken? You are not broken. You are worthy of so much love and support. And if you're doubting yourself that you deserve this great guy who's come in and say, I like you, let's give it a shot, you are insecure and you're stupid, because just accept it. And if he turns out that he was just playing you, that is a lesson you learn. But generally, I think it is wrong when a female character who has a problem is like, I don't know if I can accept that, he likes me. He likes you. It drives me insane. Good love interests are hard to find. And even good heroines who don't go all tsundere and is like, oh, I don't know how I feel. I'm so broken. Get a grip on yourself, please. Because it is showing the world that all people, girls who live with these disabilities, these problems, are just weak and insecure. And really, that's part of it, but not a lot of it. And I would like to see a character who is strong, who knows who she is, and while it may affect her somewhat, is not going to turn into an insecure mess when a guy who shows interest in her is all, I like you, let's try and work it out. Whereas the girl who is secure in herself to say, yes, let's work it out, and then they have a heart-to-heart conversation about, I have this, can you work around that? And if he says no, let him out of the plot. If he says yes, give it a go. Where is that book? I want that book. That book needs to be written. I might write that book. But my point is that friends, love interests should be written with the most genuine and genuine thing possible. Genuine friends for a person with disabilities is the greatest gift that you can ever get. Right? And the 5th tip that I have is break the stereotypes, break the mold. If you want your character to play the victim, but don't use all the victim stereotypes. If you want them to play the heroine, flip the heroine on her head. A heroine who's got an amputee arm, that would be fantastic. A heroine who cannot read but wants to read, awesome! Flip them around on their heads. You know, I've been feeling that books need to catch up to the comic books, the anime, the manga, you know, the animated shows where disabled characters are more present. Shows like Fullmetal Alchemist with Edward Elric, Prince Zuko from Avatar, Oracle from DC's Batman. They are all great examples of characters who have somewhat of a disability, but they are very strong and they are very good at what they do. They're very secure in themselves. Well, Zuko's sort of towards the end of the third season, but you get what I'm saying. These characters have been existing for a while, and the sparse amount of book characters that don't really annoys me, because books, I like books, but if I wanted to go see a disabled character that was written well, I'd go to anime, because there's no such thing as a book character and like that. And I really wish that more authors would take up the challenge. And yeah, that's all I will have to say on these topics. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. I'd like to give a shout out to Sarah Russell and Taylorlicious Reads for uploading their videos. I will leave them in the playlist that'll be linked down below. And thank you for all who has been supporting the YA Scotto Change project on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. All you guys' support makes it a whole lot better for us to just put out these videos, to get them done, and to spread the word that YA has to change, because at the moment it's becoming so overpopulated and so stale with the same tired tropes that it is getting to the point where I might just bow out of it altogether. I love you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.